In my opinion, Terra isn't our biggest issue. Hey guys, it's your boy NJMP, and we're going to be discussing the current metagame and how, in my opinion, it is a mess. We're gonna have some games in the background of some high ladder matches and simply go from there. But I'm gonna primarily focus on these mons here that you can see: Chien-Pao, Chi-Yu, Annihilape, Garganacl, Salazar. Woo! These mons are a lot. These mons are simply a lot, and I really feel like it can't be refuted the impact that these Pokemon are able to make on a match. In fact, I'm even forgetting the most important one, the one that I really want to focus on, which is Gholdengo. I don't know how I can forget this thing. Maybe because I want to forget it. But yeah, nonetheless, I feel like these mons, some of them to a lesser extent, don't get me wrong. Some of them, like Gholdengo and Chi-Yu, are the ones that stand out the most. Gholdengo, the most, that really needs to go. And I see all this attention and everything focused on the Terra suspect and how it is inevitable and it is happening very soon. May even be the thread may even be up before this video goes up. But I do want to state that I feel like, let me be very clear, how the council has handled this process, this generation, how transparent they've been to the community has been amazing, and they're doing an amazing job. If I was in their situation with, especially with Terra, I don't know what I would do personally. I feel like it is an awful position to be in as a council. What I will say though is, I feel like there has been such an outcry, especially from the I'm not gonna say higher ups, from tournament players, or let's just say players that are doing very good in the community, about Terra type and how, you know, a lot of people probably would like to avoid it before SBL or any major tournament, and so on, because a lot of people feel like it is uncompetitive, and the goal for this tier, you know, being the premier tier, OU being the premier tier, of course, of Smogon and Showdown, etc. It's to give the best and to show the format and the tier in its best light. Okay, and so the concern is that Terra is going to take away from that, and Terra in general is not good for this metagame. I personally feel like it's not anything crazy. And I say that because I feel like Terra, the way it's currently is, it's become very predictable. I feel like, you know, CTC made, not CTC, sorry, CBB made a really good point in a past video. He was stating how he feels like the player who uses Terra first, generally speaking, loses the game. And I'm not sure if I agree on that point 100%, but what I will say is, and what I've noticed is, the player that uses Terra first, generally speaking, is definitely at a disadvantage, other than the player that waits until, you know, it's his turn to use Terra, right? Because once that Terra is used, and once the Terra is wasted, it takes away some 50-50 measures and, you know, accountability that you have to have keeping track of the match. When that happens, you also are able to know, okay, if I use Terra here, I don't have to worry about, especially if you're coming from an offensive perspective, I don't have to worry about this mon potentially turning into a Terra form. And there's a lot of, like, meta, you know, high-level meta matches where, like, Terra may even be used on, like, the last turn. Like, I saw this one match that my guy Avon was playing, and his opponent thought he had the game won and was very cocky, was saying good game, because he had a Chien-Pao out that was banded, and it was just clicking Ice Spinner, just taking everything out. And then he had his last mon, and it was Amoonguss, and his Amoonguss turned to Terra-type Fire, and he was unable to take out, of course, the Amoonguss, and he lost, and his opponent lost the game. Now, you can use that, of course, as a good example of why Terra probably should go, because it allows Terra, you know, Terra allows, you know, mons that generally speaking should be losing to, you know, the super effective attackers that are not losing, and reversing the end result of a game. But I also feel like that is an extreme dope part about Terra, and I feel like that's something that is truly amazing. how it just keeps games very exciting. I feel like for team building, it's really cool to go in the team builder and to try different ideas and try different things. But at the same time, I also understand that Terra can be a lot. Don't get me wrong. So as much as I am pro Terra staying, I am also not anti it leaving, if that makes any sense. I completely understand everyone's perspective and every points, but I think everyone has a very fair point when it comes to this. And I am, there's even, I literally said yesterday to a friend of mine, I was like, man, I'm almost this close to maybe even leaning ban. Like, you know, that's the thing about the suspect, that we will see how people's opinions develop and change. But what I will say, and one thing I've been consistent on, one thing I personally feel like, we should have suspected mons like Gholdengo, mons like Chi-Yu, maybe even Chien-Pao, maybe even Ape, maybe even Shed-Tail, to a lesser extent Garganacl. Not Garganacl really needs a suspect, but it definitely needs to be maybe even viewed at a higher light. If that makes any sense. Gholdengo is centralizing. It is even more centralizing than Landorus T. What it is able to accomplish by negating the possibility of hazards getting off the playing field, having so many different sets, having an amazing strong stab and make it rain. Having, you know, the access to moves like Trick, T-Wave, Recover, Nasty Plot. It truly is a mon that can do so many things. It can pressure HO with its strong stab attacks, also locking certain things in with Trick. Also, of course, preventing defog or rapid spin. You know, if you're off, if it's team generally speaking, you know, in this metagame, it's most likely blocking rapid spin, especially if it's balloon. It can potentially completely wall your Great Tusk. But I would say that because it's so centralizing, literally every single Great Tusk that you will see in this metagame currently is running knockoff, because they do not want to be walled by Air Balloon Gholdengo, even though that is dropping in usage, at least from my perspective. The numbers may not match that. But it's just the fact that it's able to roam. And the fact that it's able to completely just shut down the possibility of you being removed hands for the entire game, it's led to such an increase in items such as heavy duty boot usage. I've seen stalls where all they run is heavy duty boots. They do not run leftovers. They do not run Black Sludge. They do not run let's say Evilite Chansey. Like, that's just not happening because of Gholdengo's presence, and they know that the chances of them getting hazards off is little to none. Zero, zilch. They run heavy duty boots, and with the distribution of knockoff being non-existent, they can actually get away with that. So Gholdengo definitely should have been looked at first. I feel like, me personally, I feel like it should have been suspected first, and if it was to happen now, I would ban it. It's not healthy for the tier. It really is not healthy for the tier right now. Now, of course, when Home comes out and more mons come down and we have a larger pool of Pokemon to choose from, then I feel like Gholdengo will most likely be fair play and can be bought back and can be resuspected, at least so we can see. Because who knows, it may still be like, do we really want to deal with this again? And one thing you have to remember, I talked about this on Reddit, and this guy was like, or not even this guy, but, you know, I feel like multiple people like have the opinion of, well, Gholdengo is not strong enough to be an Uber Pokemon. And it's like, that doesn't mean it's not ban worthy. You guys gotta remember that Uber is the ban list for OU. It doesn't mean that if you get sent to Ubers, you're gonna be good in Ubers. That's not how it works. Doug Trio, Golf, those mons, if you look at their, you know, their distribution of stats, like, those aren't Uber mons. That's not a mega, you know, shoot, mega crazy guy, like, but that's like, that's not a Primarch or whatever, like, whatever Pokemon you want to think of in Ubers, like, that's not the mons you think of for Ubers, but that doesn't mean that it's not too much for OU, right? Chi-Yu, ridiculous mon, horrendous mon, a pain, it just can't stand the mon. The way it is able to simply, oh, shoot, Sun, literally we're about to see it potentially in this match right here. Like, it has made Sun what it is right now. I personally am not a big fan of Sun because I feel like Sun is extremely matchup based, but that does not change the fact that Chi-Yu basically, as soon as it comes in, it is taking out whatever you throw out there. There's very few mons that are able to live in Specs Overheat in the sun. And even if they do live it, I think I think every single thing dies. I was gonna say maybe Roy Moon's the only one that lives it barely and is able to like outspeed it and potentially revenge. I think it's the only one. Everything else basically gets outsped the next turn. So even if it lives like with like, let's say 10, 20%, whatever, 5, it's getting knocked out the next turn. And then you have to add on to the fact that it's also able to use the Terra type fire. And you can use that as an example why Terra needs to go. But you add that stab of adaptability basically to it, and your mount is gone. And so he didn't pull the trigger. I want to see the action. But no, in all seriousness, like a mount like Ting-Lu is supposed to take basically almost every single hit, but it's not able to take those Chi-Yu Fire Blast, Overheats, whatever. Not well at all. Chi-Yu has little to no measures. It has little to no switch-ins. I saw a Blissey take 60% from a Specs Chi-Yu Fire Blast with Terra Fire. Oh, what in the world? Like, it's just not a fair mon. And this mon honestly needs to go. Because here's my thing. Even when we take away Terra, that doesn't, like, give us more options to handle them on. Tyranitar is not that viable. It's not that good. I've tried it. I've used it. I've seen it in use. It's not good in my opinion. It's not the most viable mon. So, you know, it becomes an issue when we're using such unviable or very small viability, like very minuscule answers, checks, and measures to Pokemon that really just amplifies how centralizing they are. For example, going back to Gholdengo, you see mons like Talonflame, Defog, or even Moldbreaker Hawlucha being used because of the problem that Gholdengo has presented to the tier. And those mons, in every other case, are not good. But Gholdengo makes them... You can entertain the idea and understand why someone would even attempt it. We're going to move on to Chien-Pao. Chien-Pao is simply ridiculous. It is truly one of the most annoying mons to face, along with everything else on this list. It has little to no switch-in. Even the things that can switch in, you're one Crunch Defensive drop away, one Icicle Crash flinch away, or even right now currently, one Terra Dark adaptively boost whatever away from you losing your measure. Okay? The mon, what it's able to pull off and accomplish is truly overwhelming. And it can run so many different sets, from Taunt to Life Orb to Heavy Duty Boots to SD, Band. It can run Adamant. It can run Jolly. Like, it truly puts... It truly is an amazing position as a mon, and it's able to take advantage of the fact that it is going to be very hard to slow the sucker down. Like, Chien-Pao truly is special for what it is able to accomplish in a lot of games. Of course, it's credit to its amazing ability, which reduces, you know, the defense of any switching. That's why, you know, it hits so strong. The mon is a lot. The mon is a lot. Okay. I can't. I mean, it's simply. The thing about you have to understand is, like, these mons is like, when a mon is basically good in every single matchup, is that it's kind of like when, you know, you get on that radar per se. Like for example, Dondozo is ridiculous. It is a lot. It has invalidated a lot of, let's say, I don't want to say sub-sweepers, but a lot of physically attacking mons are not going to work, or you won't even touch those mons because of Dondozo. Or let's say you're like, I feel like, shoot, even Dondozo is, like, one of the reasons why we were, generally speaking, like, don't get me wrong, if it weren't for Dondozo, we would still experiment, but, like, a lot of reasons why, like, we prefer to run, like, for example, Specs Iron Valiant opposed to Bandit Iron Valiant. Because there's very few mons, especially with the removal of Iron Bundle, that is able to offensively, with special attack, because we have very limited good special attacking mons, and you know, like it's a really tough sucker to pull down, and it hits pretty hard too. So it's not like you can even like heavily like easily like switch into it either. Like some previous curse potential sweepers. The pure water typing, of course, is amazing as well. But this video is not about those. It's about the other monsters. So yeah, as I said, Chien-Pao, amazing one, fantastic, out of this world. Next, I talk about you, Annihilape. Annihilape. I'm not going to say it is busted is broken, but Rage Fist is ridiculous. Last I checked, it's either they can go up to 350 as its max or 250 as its max in power. It essentially has led to the metagame wanting to run any user that has Wisp to slow it down. But then, I will admit, because of Terra type, the metagame was like, oh, okay, we're going to evolve. We're going to, instead of running water, we're going to run fire. So that takes out the Wisp option, right? And so it now leads people to potentially having basically a trick user potentially on every single team just so they can slow this down or potentially force it out or scare it out, whatever. Just so it doesn't get the ball game rolling. I have been using Annihilape a lot. I have been experimenting. I've tried different sets with Annihilape. It's got too many good sets. It's got too many good sets. Like there's listen, I've been messing around with this set, Protect, Taunt, that just basically, you know, it comes in on a couple of hits, etc. It stops rapid spin, and then it gets like, let's say a boosted rage is up to like 150 or 100. All it really needs is 100. But you get to 150 and you get to 200, that's when it gets really crazy. And then you gotta remember it has the recovery. It has still an amazing, it doesn't need the bulk up sometimes. It has an amazing tax of 115. It still has the bulk of Legends. You're like, what do you mean bulk of Legends? It's not that bulky. It basically has very similar bulk to Mew. And you look how we've used Mew in the past generations. My man Avion posted some calcs of how Annihilape is so similar to Mew. It really is not that crazy to talk about its bulk. But yeah, the Annihilape, it's just, it really, the way that it's able to basically invalidate balance, it's truly a lot. And you know, the council may not want to ban the move Rage Fist, and okay, if they're going to go about that route, then Annihilape the Mon itself is probably going to have to go. Because what is preached consistently, and is very true, is that every playstyle needs to be viable. And personally, I feel like right now, Stall is viable, but it is in a very rough state, and I don't think it can be consistent enough. That's why, like, ever since that, like, I guess the very early portion of the metagame, we have not seen Stall higher on the ladder. We have seen Balance. Don't get me wrong, Balance is still, as much as Annihilape can shut it down and pressure it and do a lot to it, Balance is still at the top of the ladder. Balance is still consistent. Bulky offense is still relevant. Offense is still relevant. I feel though bulky offense has like evolved per se. Like I feel like one of the best bulky offense scores is is what Vertex popularized, which is Glamora and Tinglu. I feel like that's like probably the those type of teams and archetypes. You generally speaking, you would look at that and be like, that's probably a balancy type of team the way it's kind of, but it looks initially, but no, it's kind of like how bulky offenses right now. Anyway, nonetheless. Annihilape is a lot. As I said, it has Taunt, Bulk Up. It has the Protect set that you may start seeing more often. It has Chesto Resto. It's a lot. It's a lot as I'm on. It's able to function on playstyles such as screens, which we're going to get to in a second. It's a lot. It's a lot. And it's very hard to take down. And it's very few things that are able to always KO it as well if it's at full. So you're playing a game of basically trying to weaken it, but at the same time, I'm sure you've played against it and you find yourself in a real conundrum because you do not want to attack it. You do not want to weaken it. Because the more you hit it, the more you weaken it, the stronger it becomes, as you very well know. And that's why you see, it getting Revival Blessed or Healing Wished. This Mon is a nuisance. And we move on to the next nuisance, which is Garganacl. I was the only member on the viability ranking, at least I checked, council member that voted for this to be S-. I don't know why it was not S-. Let's go with this for a second. This person, number 1, separation, uses Garganacl. This person uses Garganacl. I don't know. I haven't checked up on this person as of late. I know this person uses Garganacl, or I've faced this person using Garganacl. a lot of players are high right now on the ladder, and Garganacl has really helped them get there. I, as you very well know, hit number 1 with Garganacl. Garganacl, it may seem like not that scary of a mon, but when you get up to a higher ladder, it's there for a reason. Everyone's using it for a reason. It can be a stealth rocker, it can be a sweeper, it can be a wall, however you want to use it. And it's very effective in every single area. Sure, I will say Terra type has really, really helped that be the case, because if you do remove Terra type, Garganacl will become less of a threat, but it will not take away from it being an extreme annoyance. Its Salt Cure move is truly, along with its ability, is truly one of the worst things Game Freak could have done. The fact that basically all of its, again, water and steel, all the normal things that would take it down, cutting 25% of your HP, just gone. As soon as you come in, nuts. And that's not counting you also taking damage from the attack. So basically a free 30% gone every single time you come in. And it gets to switch out to whatever measure it is. And also has ability to the access to the ability to move block. So let's say you're trying to you're trying to switch around. You're trying to you know, I guess limit the ways it can be a nuisance. If it blocks you, potentially could trap you, or should even block you to the point where you have to stay in and take the Salt Cure damage, and then it gets to switch out or go into something safe, you know, if it potentially feels like it's threatened. Because, you know, it's Salt Cure, let's say a Corv comes in, because again, you don't want to go to your, like, hard hitters, because generally speaking, your hard hitters, the mons that are able to take this down don't have recovery, so you're going to go to, like, let's say Corv one turn, just to, like, you know, waste that Salt Cure PP, and then you got to Roost, and then you're blocked. It's like, wait a second, what? Now, of course, most Corvs can you turn out, etc., but nonetheless, it really puts you in a pickle. So, you know, Garganacl is a lot. It is a lot. And don't get me wrong, if Terra is to go, it will become a little easier. But shoot, I feel like a lot of teams, you know, just like Annihilape, a lot of teams got tricked because of this thing too. I feel like a lot of games come down to you either are able to pressure it to pressure the heck out of it, or you're able to trick it somehow. You were able to get the opponent to stay in. Or you got to waste off his PP recover. That's usually the only way it goes with this thing. It truly, it's very rare I've seen a game where Garganacl was like alive at full and it was like another mon left and it was like, oh, okay, this 100% is a win for you. No. As long as that mon's still alive, you really gotta just be like, let me see how this goes. There was tons of times, if you guys were part of my stream or watched the video back of me hitting number 1, where, shoot, just in general laddering, I'm like, the game's not over for me until Garganacl dies. And I was like, Garganacl's our late game super guys. Garganacl's our our super in the back. Like, it's not coming up to the end of the game. And it would come out at the end of the game and win the game. Like, everything else did their job, or shoot, or everything else would win the game earlier. But Garganacl was going to be like, you know, just chilling in the back, like, let me know when you want me to come in, guys. I'm gonna hit with a 1-2. Like, it's just ridiculous. It's just truly ridiculous what it does. Okay. Let's speed up this video because I don't want this to run too long. Salazar, Chattel, stupid. I don't know if it should be banned because I feel like we have enough counterplay for it with all the phasers. At the same time, it does have its moments of being unhealthy. It's very reminiscent of Baton Pass for a lot of players. That's why a lot of players, I feel like, despise it. I'm personally not sure what we should do. But, Salazar, I completely understand how people feel about it. Point being is, and what I want to end this video off by saying, I really feel like we need to be taking a further look at the mons itself than Terra. This video will do nothing. We are going to have the Terra suspect, and that is that. I am just voicing how I personally feel the metagame is right now. I feel like it is a mess right now. I did do the survey, and I believe I put the metagame at an 8. If I could get that survey back, I'd actually like to change that to like a 5-6. I feel like I was more so on the high of HO, because I feel like this metagame is extremely fun, and if you love HO like I love HO, then you are going to have a blast. HO is definitely the way you want to go when you are playing, and that's not a healthy metagame. That's not, you generally speaking, the way you want to go when HO is the, I would say, the premier thing. You want to have a metagame where everything potentially can win games and be extremely viable. And I feel like we have a metagame that right now is a little too favoring HO, and that's not good for every single player, because not every single player wants to have a blast playing HO. Anyway, it's your boy JP.